the FNF committee, we have Dr. McKenzie.
Here.
We have Ms. Coelho.
Here.
From our administration, from school administration team, we have Dr. Flaherty.
Here.
Fantastic, thank you. We have Director of Finance, Jean Sherburne.
Here.
Who is fighting a cold, so we're going to do our best to have either myself or Dr. Trump say most of what hopefully Jean would have said this evening, and only lean on Jean to speak when absolutely necessary. On the Zoom call, I see Dr. Trocek, but I believe she's actually physically present in the room in the middle school.
I am, yes, thank you.
You're in two places at once. That's not surprising for you. Now, Ms. Bill, I need to lean on you because I have no idea who else is in that room, and I don't have a view right now.
Sure. Present in the room are our citizen representatives. We have Mr. Paul Manzo. Here. And I'm pleased to introduce for her inaugural meeting, Juliana Genoa, okay, so I'll get that, I promise. We also have our recording secretary, Liz Karan. We have Aaron Brown for our HR department. Here. And we have Dr. Andre Morgan, Dr. Chorchek, as you mentioned, Principal Gabrielle Montevecchi.
Here.
And I haven't met.
That's okay. My name's Amanda Lennon. I'm a volunteer from the PTO.
Nice to meet you, Amanda. And then, of course, I'm also here, but not on the committee, so I'll go back on mute.
Fantastic, thank you. So our two members of the public, Mr. Manzo and our new member, can you please take turns unmuting? And I did not hear either of you very well, and we have to do roll call votes this evening. And our newest member, I'm going to ask you to use your microphone and pronounce your name so that hopefully I'll get it correct. I'll pronounce it correctly the rest of the evening.
Juliana Di Genova.
Di Genova. Is that close enough?
Yes.
Fantastic. Mr. Manzo, can I hear you, please?
I'm here. My name is Manzo.
I love your sense of humor, sir. Okay, so I am going to share my screen. I think I have all the documents for this evening available. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump into the agenda. Okay, hold on one second. And again, I thank everybody for their patience while we have the majority of us remote this evening. A lot going on across the city. So let's go. Can we move you guys a little bit? And here's our agenda. The very first item for consideration are our meeting minutes from our last meeting. So I'm going to switch tabs. I'm going to pull up the meeting minutes. I would be looking for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Manzo, for the motion and Ms. Coelho for the second. Does anyone have any changes or corrections that are necessary for this set of minutes? Hearing none, there's a motion on the table. We have to do a roll call vote. We'll start online. Dr. McKenzie.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Coelho.
Yes.
Mr. Manzo.
Yes.
I'm not hearing Mr. Manzo.
Can you? Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. DeGeneva, you were not in attendance, but we're still going to call on you. And what should happen is that you should say that you abstained because you weren't in the meeting, but then you're still on record as having voted.
Abstain.
Fantastic. And I vote yes. So that passes 1, 2, 3, 4 to 0 to 1, if I'm counting correctly. Okay. Back to our agenda. Our next item on the agenda are, Ms. Sherburne, please humor me. Did you pass us any transfers at the last minute?
No transfers.
Fantastic. I didn't think I saw any in the packet, but I wanted to make sure. I make this font a little bigger. I can feel Kim in the BevCam booth kind of yelling at me that it's too small on the screen. Our next item on the agenda is this Hannah Outdoor Learning Classroom. I do have that presentation in one of these other tabs. Is that somebody in the room wants to present, right?
I can, yeah, yes. Would you like me to put it up or do you have it?
I have it.
Okay.
Live, I have it. It's one of these. Yes, here it is. Sorry, I was reviewing it myself, so I'm
Okay.
a few slides up already.
All right, thank you. So if it's all right with you, I would like to introduce Gabrielle Montevecchi, principal of the Hannah School, and Amanda Lennon, who is a volunteer from the PTO. And they have brought forward to us a presentation and a proposal for an outdoor classroom at the Hannah Elementary School. The reason that we're bringing it forward here at this point in time is in accordance with our policy FJ. When any permanent structures are going to be imposed onto a school campus, we want to bring it forward for a vote. So we're bringing it here for you all to approve. And so I'm going to turn it over to them, and they're going to make a presentation to you about their vision for and work that's been done around the outdoor classroom at Hannah.
And when you guys want, you want Vanna to go to the next slide, just please say next slide and I'll scroll.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for having us here tonight. It's really an honor to be with you and to share the work that's underway already. I'd like to start by giving everyone just a little bit of context from our perspective, our school perspective, as to where the proposal has come from. And you can go ahead to the next slide, Lorinda. Thanks so much, and go on to the next. So just a brief introduction about the project. During our reopening, we really spent some time to reimagine what our school would be like and how we could re-enter students in safely to our learning environment. And right off the bat, our classroom teachers came together to think about how we could utilize our beautiful Hannah campus. And we began by designating an outdoor classroom for every single classroom in our building. And Ms. Visnick, if you could move on to the next slide, that would be great. So throughout the last 2 school years, we worked alongside Victoria Hackett, who is a Beverly local. She's also a parent of 2 children who have been to the Beverly Public Schools. She worked closely with our staff to provide professional development to help us create classroom spaces outside. Throughout all of last year, we spent time expanding our outdoor learning opportunities, and we are very proud to state that we only actually ate outside last year 4 times, when there was torrential rain or it was extremely cold. Our teachers and students felt a great deal of safety in being able to unmask and be outside, enjoy the sunshine. We really began to dig deeper into all the great reasons why this outdoor learning worked well for our students. And here on the slide, there are just a few reasons why outdoor learning is really a benefit to our students. So tremendous amount of research has been done on the increased attention for students when they're outside in fresh air and sunshine. They're also getting a lot of sensory input simply from feeling fresh air. The warm sun on their skin is very stimulating after being in fluorescent lights for a great deal of the day. We're able to expand, particularly our science, in looking at the 4 seasons as they change right around us in our campus outside at Hannah. We're also very proud of the fact that our students are really becoming tremendous ambassadors of the environment. The more they're in touch with their own environment at school, they can really apply their understanding of what it means to be good environmental stewards and think a great more deeply about sustainability and what it means for our community. So we've been very excited to really dig into outdoor learning beyond just playing and eating outside. All of our classes across all grade levels are spending time in engaging in reading and writing, STEAM, music, and art classes outside. Our teachers have really embraced the philosophies of outdoor learning and are currently engaging in ongoing professional development, which is actually right down to today. We are engaging in a book study on a book called The Last Child in the Woods, which is certainly not a new text. Many of you may be familiar with the work of Richard Louv already, but if you are not, I encourage you to take a peek at that. We are thinking about how we can even enhance our outdoor spaces so that we are able to be outside no matter what the weather. And beside me tonight is Amanda Lennon, who has become the president of our Outdoor Learning Committee. We have, along with Amanda, a group of parents who are just so excited by what they were hearing from their students coming home, engaging in outdoor learning experiences, the extended amount of play we're able to engage in outside, the fantastic stories about reading outside, watching the snow fall, the snow melt, playing outside, and all those science opportunities that come about with engaging in outdoor learning. And they really took our faculty's call to action on outdoor learning really seriously, developed a great deal of enthusiasm, and wondered, along with our faculty, how could we think about even enhancing what we do with our outdoor learning space even more? And at this point, I'll ask Lauren if you would turn to the next slide, and I will introduce Amanda to share more about our specific plan for outdoor learning structure.
Thank you. So I'm really happy to be involved in this project. Professionally, I am a licensed interior designer and work at a large architecture firm in Boston. So as far as structures and research and materials go, really happy to kind of apply my real job to my volunteer job. Work was working out great. Our goals for this is to design, plan, and construct the outdoor classroom on campus. The plan for the PTO is to raise $50,000 early next year, and we're way on track for that, and I'll go over that in a second. And that we'd like to build this next summer-ish, right, and open it for the school year. That would be the ideal scenario. If you want to go to the next slide, I'll keep going. Currently, we have raised, as of this morning, we got a donation yesterday, $35,000. With a plan to close the gap with the $50,000 with a readathon in February. We have run that once before and been incredibly successful, so we think it'll be like a walk in the park to get to that $50,000. And really what the $35,000 that's raised to date says to us is that parents want this, because except for about $2,000, all of it's come from directly from a parent, whether it's a parent's business or parent direct donating or somebody's t-shirt sales. It's all directly from the parents. So we're really excited about that. You want to go to the next slide? The next few slides show the design. So first I'll go over the considerations, basically what Gabrielle and the other teachers want out of this structure. And then I'll go through like where it's going to be and what it will look like. So the design considerations that we started from were that it wants to fit 20 to 30 students and their teachers. So that would be like 1 to 2 classrooms all at once. It wants to feel spacious and aspirational as a learning environment. So what this is not is simply a shade like picnic area. This is really supposed to be aspirational and feel good that you're outside and connected with the woods and the really nice campus that Hannah has. And then what's really also important to us as we're raising all this money and putting this big investment is that it's low, no maintenance. So we want it to be able to weather outside for 20 plus years with essentially no work having to get involved. So as I've done the research into how that structure will be built and what it's made out of, that's been a huge consideration. So with that in mind, I'll show you where it's going to be on campus. The next slide. So if you're familiar with Hannah School, the main entrance is Plan West, just down here. That's where you drop off. And then Plan North is the hot top area where everybody has recess, and the dark blue square would be where the new pavilion is. So that is, thank you. So that is actually on a grass area that's currently, but we'll put down concrete and then the posts and the rest of the pavilion. And it's really adjacent to the woods and the path that goes to the Y. So a really nice spot on the campus. It's also connected to that back door that all the students go in and out of at the beginning of school and the end of school. That's how they come in and out. So they'll walk right by it every day. Go to the next slide. There's 2 slides that show a rendering. So this is made out of timber frame. So there's lots of different ways to make a timber frame structure. But what we're looking at is a prefabricated structure that's shipped in pieces with all its hardware to the site. It'll be made out of probably pine. It could be cedar or Douglas fir, and we can look at that as far as cost. And then a metal roof. So the roof will last basically forever. And the structure is the type of structure that the federal parks put in. There's one over in Danvers. They put it at a town park. It looks just like this. So again, like basically no maintenance. You put it up, it's done. And then this is kind of what it will feel like on the inside. So you can see that the scale is really important. It's about 36 feet long and 20 feet wide. And the edges of the posts are 10 feet tall. So it's really nice and kind of soaring. And we think the wood's a nice material to work with. Even though the roof above you will be metal, the wood's nice because it feels, kind of cozy and really nice connection to the nature that's just adjacent. Any questions about the structure? Because otherwise I'll keep going. Okay. Next slide, I think, is the budget. So I did this line item budget, and again, I will say that construction budgets right now are a little bit upside down. So I priced this just a few weeks ago, so we think it's really close. I've talked to about 12 manufacturers that make these timber frame pavilions. I liked 6 of them. Their products range from about $48,000 to $65,000, depending on the wood species that you pick. So that's a 20 by 36 pavilion with all its hardware, the metal roof, the concrete pad and site work. There's going to be a contractor tie-in with the labor, and then all these parents that have given money, they will have usually it's referred to as a donor wall. In our case, we're going to design stars that go onto the ceilings with what people want to put on them. So they're picking kind of aspirational sayings, and we'll put those up, and that will be our donor wall. And then included in this budget is a contingency fee of 10%, shipping at 11%, and tax for Massachusetts at 6.25%. So the total is $116,000 as of a few weeks ago. I think it's really close. Any questions on that? Yes.
I think it's great what you're doing. It's a wonderful area for it. Hannah School is great. Is a great a location for this kind of learning environment. But I have to ask you, got a $116,000 budget and a $50,000 fundraising goal. So where does the rest of it come from?
Yep, so when the project was first proposed, they talked to us, and when we wrote the ESSER grant, we included some money in the ESSER grant to be able to cover the site work and the roofing, and so that will take place there.
So we're not concerned that
No,
get halfway through.
no, we have the money in the ESSER. You have to put your mic on.
Thank you.
No, you don't have.
I don't.
So we have it. We have it budgeted.
Good.
We're just looking for the approval for the change to the site, so.
And then while I have the floor, who do you expect to have? Do you need to hire specialized laborers to do this kind of work, or is this something that any well-trained construction crew could put together?
It's a really good question. It would be any well-trained construction crew that could do the site work and put this together. The companies that pre-manufacture can stamp the drawings for engineering. So then it's a matter of getting it to the site and putting it together.
So just one point of clarification, and Jean's on the line too, but whenever we will have to, Jean, do we have to bid this?
Yes, we'll have to go out to bid, follow the 30B procurement
Right.
guidelines. It may be construction also, Sue.
Yep.
So we will have to get 3 quotes, and they will have to pay prevailing wages
Right.
because it's
That's
done
where I was
on
going.
a public entity.
Right, so that piece will, in terms of who can do it, they'll have to be part of that bid process.
Okay, I have a related question, which is that could our own, quote unquote, B&G department do some of this work, or might that be possible, or do we already know that that's off the table because they're too busy?
I can jump on that I'm assuming that our B&G department would not, because we only have custodians. But if the city side is able to, excuse me, do the concrete pad and site work, that is something that we could always ask Mr. Collins on their availability.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether that might help us from a financial point of view, or if the ESSER funds are all there, if it makes more sense. I guess we can split hairs over that as we move forward. I'm looking online. Does anybody else online have any questions? Or can we? There's still at least one more slide, I believe, in the presentation. Okay, I'm going to go to the next slide.
So our thanks to everyone for their time and attention this evening. As hopefully you've heard from myself and from Amanda, our school community is super excited about the project potentially getting underway. There's certainly a lot of excitement amongst our students to be outside and to always expand the learning that we're able to do. And I am incredibly grateful for all of the monetary donation that has been made by our parents for the time, effort, and energy that Amanda and her committee has put into all of the research behind this work. And do you have any next steps that you wanted to add?
So the next steps is, hopefully getting the site work approved with this group. And then my team will put a bid package together that we can then hand to the person that's going to be bidding this. I could even fill in some blanks as to people they can call first, right? Because I've talked to other towns that have done similar structures. So I can, hand a nice package off probably early next year. I think we'll know where the money's coming from. So then we're at the mercy of when somebody can fit us in the schedule. So.
All right, so before we have any more discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve this change to facilities
So
to
moved.
allow the bidding to happen.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Mazza. Do I have a-
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. I have a question, but I'd like to try to call on myself last. So I'm looking around the room and across the folks who are online. Are there any other questions? Does anybody want to pose any other questions? Ms. Abel, I might need your help in the room, or people in the room, you could just unmute.
There don't appear to be any questions in the room.
Okay, my question, and this might be more for Dr. Chirocek than anybody else, is around our the ideal that each of our elementary schools is unique and they offer their own. I always like to use the Hannah Hoedown as the example. No other school will have a Hannah Hoedown, but we do like to think that beyond those kind of extras, that the educational content across the 5 elementaries is in fact equal. And so my question comes around, how will our other 4 elementary schools without such a structure have an approximate equal educational opportunity? And or do you have a vision for a timeline when the other elementary schools would also get outdoor learning spaces?
Yes, thank you. So I surprisingly anticipated this question. First I would say throughout the pandemic, all of our schools utilized the services of Victoria? Of Victoria around professional development for their teachers for outdoor learning. And again, had the opportunity to kind of utilize outdoor spaces. I don't know if you remember, we had tree stumps, kind of around in various outdoor classroom setups and a lot of different attempts at how it would work on their campus. We have some buildings who have some tables that they've ordered and have set it up in the open air. So they have, we were able to order tables. It really is an opportunity for any of our schools, should they wish to do it. At the Hannah School, I think it kind of became really deeply embedded in the culture and in the work that they're doing. I don't think that the Hannah School is working on different standards or on different curriculum. It's just really location right now and how they choose to do it. I anticipate once this outdoor learning classroom is up at Hannah, there may likely be requests from other schools to investigate as to whether or not they would like to do that or not. But again, this is it's a place, not a curriculum. It doesn't impact programming really in any way, except for that they'll have a beautiful space with which to work. And again, it doesn't preclude any of our other elementary schools should they, want to investigate this as well. So. Again, we've had a good opportunity throughout the pandemic to kind of experiment with and think about different ways that within our own campuses, and every campus is a little different, and every campus has a different kind of space available to them. So, I anticipate probably other schools wanting to investigate this, but at this point in time, the Hannah School has come forward, and I certainly wouldn't want to stop them from doing that. So.
If I could add another community use for the pavilion, as everybody in this room knows, we are the on-site, Hannah's the on-site for the mayor's summer literacy program, and we've also got the rec department on-site at Hannah too, and we know it would be well used by groups who are also utilizing the building for through all seasons, but particularly in the summertime too, that offers an additional space to organize groups of students in a beautiful location for learning opportunities.
Fantastic. Mr. Manzo, I need to adjust what I was hoping for a motion. For the record, I am looking for a motion that we recommend this facility change to the committee of the whole to be voted on at a subsequent meeting, likely December 7th.
That's fine. So moved.
Thank you. Ms. Coelho, will you second the friendly amendment there?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, do I see any other questions? Anyone else have anything they want to say? Okay.
Actually,
no, Ms.
Lorinda,
Coelho?
There's
one thing. Before you go, I just want to say thank you very much for doing this. This is above and beyond for a building principal, a collection of teachers, and certainly the parents. And so thank you for helping us make our school system much better. We don't deserve this kind of help, really. Thank you.
Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. We'll start online. Dr. McKenzie,
Yes.
Ms. Coelho,
Yes.
in the room, Mr. Manzo,
Yes.
Ms. DeGeneva,
Yes.
welcome to FNF. There's your first vote on record. And myself, yes, that passes unanimously 5-0. I'd like to reiterate Mr. Manzo's appreciation. It is fantastic. I know in the past, any given PTO has greatly funded or fully funded a play structure on a school campus. The PTOs do fantastic work, and we are always indebted to them and grateful for what they do to enrich the educational offerings that the school district provides. This is your chance to run away now if you want. No one will even see you leave the room. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen, and we'll go back to our
Thank you.
agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is a review of the B&G reports. And if anybody had any comments or questions on that, again, because we have a new member, I'll just review. that we stack our meetings. We have 1 hour for this meeting. And so one of the things that we have worked hard to do this calendar school year is to send the B&G report in the packet the week before, so that we can all review it over the weekend. And then if we have any questions, we can send the questions ahead of time and get answers, and try to, not spend too much of our time in this meeting in our limited 1 hour on this particular topic, unless there's something quote unquote big that we're upset about. So I'll look quickly to the members of the committee. Does anybody have anything that they're really upset about in that? It was a pretty short B&G report this week. I do have something, Jean, I'm going to say it here and then I'll email it to you, which is that there was a comment about the Ayers kindergarten playground, but I did not see an update on the portion of the Ayers playground that's broken. So maybe next month we can get an update on the portions of the playground. And there was maybe another playground, another school that has a playground piece that is currently broken and taped off, and children are not able to access at this point in time.
I did check with Mr. Shiroli about the Ayers playground that was broken, and they were able to fix it, and the playground is being used.
Fantastic. Well, look at that. Okay, fantastic. All right, so our next item on the agenda is the finance and operations update, and I understand, Dr. Trochik, that you're going to read that out for our friend who's suffering from a cold.
I am. Thank you very much.
And that is this presentation, I believe.
Yes, it is.
And I'm going to make it a little bigger.
All right. So we'll start with a beautiful happy Thanksgiving from Jean to everyone, because she is doing a great job with her graphics and letting us know this is Thanksgiving's meeting. We have a few items tonight. First, we have the revolving account expenses. We have an FTE update for you all. We're going to introduce to you the FY24 budget calendar, and then we'll end with our FY23 financial reports on revenues and expenses. So the first item here, Jean had hoped to be able to present, but I'm going to present it for her, is really to kind of make sure for the membership on the committee that you understand and are aware. We try in each one of our meetings, particularly if there are new members, to kind of review some of the opportunities that are some of the things that we look at as part of our finance and facilities. So tonight we wanted to just talk a little bit about expenses that are charged directly to revolving accounts. And so you'll hear the term offset used throughout the budget planning process that we're about to enter. And an offset is really when we have taken expenses and we know we have money that will be either recurring in our revolving account, and we kind of send those expenses off to that account, against that account. We have several revolving accounts. The first one and largest one, I think, is the circuit breaker revolving account. That's a revenue that's generated from the state special education reimbursement program. It reimburses the district for high-cost special needs students. So at this time, the district is reimbursed for 75% of the costs that are above 4 times the state foundation budget. So that's a lot of words to say. We pay the first $46,704 for anyone that is a high-cost student, and then any costs over that, we get reimbursed by the state for 75% of the costs that exceed that number. Transportation costs have newly been added to the circuit breaker. They're being reimbursed at 75% in FY23. That is a huge relief for some of our districts and for some of our, and particularly in Beverly, for students that are transported to out-of-district placements. We keep these funds in a separate account. We utilize them for tuition costs for the collaborative and the private day programs. The budget offset for FY23 was $2,584,896. So that's the circuit breaker account. We have a SPED tuition revolving account. In Beverly, we have some students who come to Beverly and to be enrolled in our sub-separate programs. This is different than school choice. It's a contract that's entered into with other districts. We are fortunate in Beverly to have several programs that address the needs of some specific disability students, and so we are able to do that. And our offset for the FY23 budget for that is $97,428, and we're utilizing that for nurse and teacher salaries. School choice revolving is the revenue that we generate for students that are school choiced into Beverly schools. Those of you who have been around for a long time know that years ago we had challenges with school choice because we were sending more students out and paying other districts to have our students. Then we have reversed those roles, and now Beverly has a very robust school choice program, and it's a very desired place for people to send their schools. So we vote annually on the school committee as to how many seats are open, and we collect revenues. And for the FY23 budget, our offset is $831,550. Again, we charge teacher salaries to those accounts. So I think primarily English and some science teachers at the high school, and actually at the middle school now as well. So we have a preschool revolving account. That's revenue that we get from tuitions for peer students that attend our pre-K program. These funds are deposited, and the portion of a teacher's salary is used, in our FY23 budget offset for our preschool revolving is $45,881. We have an athletic revolving account. It generates revenue from user fees and gate receipts. Again, offset for these, the athletic-only expenses are charged directly to this account. In FY23, the budget offset for athletic revolving is $209,748. We have a transportation revolving account, revenues again from user fees and from charters. The driver's salaries are charged to the revolving account, and the FY23 budget offset is $218,660. We have a building rental revolving. Again, that's revenue that we get from building rentals. Currently, the YMCA is and always has been for a while our largest renter. They rent space for their after-school program. And there's a church at Ayers that generates revenue. The budget offset for the custodial salaries are what we offset to the building rental revolving, and that FY23 budget offset is $225,310. And then finally, we have a non-resident tuition revolving account. I think we've called it SEVIS for a long time. That's what you people will recognize it as. And again, these are students that attend Beverly High they're foreign exchange students. They come to Beverly High for 1 year only. And again, the budget, we utilize it for stipends for teaching additional classes, and the offset is $88,000 for FY23. So those are just the revolving, it's just sort of a point of information, sharing with everybody. Those are the offsets that we have as we enter into our budget planning. You'll know as we go through the process that we identify these revenue sources as we do our planning, and we look to utilize the revenues that we generate to offset some of the expenses that would otherwise need to be taken into account by the appropriated budget. So, Jean?
Dr. Trochek and or Jean, I have a quick question.
I'm here.
I just want to say, did I get it right, Jean?
Yeah.
My question is around this number, the school choice revolving account.
Yep.
Because if we look at how many children do we vote each year to allow to come into our system, I believe K through 8, our number is 10 per grade, and then 9 through 12 is 15 per grade.
Correct.
And if we do that math, that's 150 children, and I believe we get $5,000 per child.
Well,
You do get a little extra money when there's a special education cost associated with that.
Okay, because my back of the envelope math says that number of 150 children times $5,000 a child doesn't come to this amount, and I was wondering where we make up that difference.
So when we see the revenue report that we'll see in a few minutes, it does tell you how much we're taking in. But remember, this is a revolving account that revolves over, so I am using some of the surplus that's in the revolving account. I do not have any of the documentation at home because I was not expected to come down with this bronchitis. So I think there's about 100,000 that we're using of the revolving account.
Okay.
Balance.
And again, I think that sometimes when I ask my questions, I have asked them to remind myself, and I have asked them because I think it's illuminating for other members of the committee and or our huge fan base that's watching from home.
To be exact, $111,094 is the carryover that we're using out of FY22 budget. For
you,
FY22
Dr.
revolving account, not the budget, the revolving account.
The revolving.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so here comes your next slide, Dr. Trocek.
All right, thank you. So we're as we have been doing throughout the school year, we're continuing to make adjustments based upon the needs that we see in our schools. This is not additional FTEs. However, we're transferring. We originally had planned to have 2 paraprofessional positions at Beverly High School. They are unfilled at this time after our data meetings, which concluded over the past couple of weeks. And after meeting with the director of STEM at the high school and the building principal, we are requesting we're planning to switch the 2 unfilled para positions into math interventionists. Any differential in the cost would be covered by ESSER. And we are going to utilize those math interventionists to provide support, particularly in our freshman and sophomore classes. We have, as we look at the data, and as we all know, the last couple of years have impacted quite a bit. We have some students and, in general, some need to do some particular skill building in progression of skills for students that are in Algebra 1 and Geometry. So the math interventionists we would like to send into classrooms to provide support in small groups to students that might need it.
I have another question here. My question here is around the elimination of or even maybe back up a little further, the unfilled para positions. Are those positions, well, I have to know the answer, but for the record, are those positions such that, right, if I were mandated to have, for instance, a one-on-one para for a child, that is not the type of position that I could leave unfilled.
Correct.
And or then reallocate to something else. So is
Correct.
it the case that we anticipated that we would need or that we would want additional paras as opposed to needing them because of somebody's 504?
Correct. So these are not positions that were aligned to any compliance for any students that had learning differences. They were, when we were building the budget, if you remember, we had principals came to us and we tried to anticipate what our needs might be and how we might want to utilize some of the ESSER funding. So these are the positions that they were not tied to any particular student on particular IEPs. And quite frankly, if a need arose later, we would take a look and make some adjustments. We've been working really hard with the ESSER funding to identify need based on data as we go forward and utilize positions where they're needed. And so, it was a really interesting conversation and opportunity at our data meetings to take a look at the current data and identify some of the root causes of where we think we needed additional supports. And so Mrs. Taylor and Dr. Thomas in particular thought this would be a great way to utilize these positions.
Fantastic. So in essence, we're re-envisioning the positions, reallocating, hiring math specialists, interventionists, instead.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks. Here's your next one.
All right.
Well,
And
I think you had a question in the room.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. Abel.
Yeah, thank you. So just 2 quick ones. So then, the reason why the paras positions weren't filled was not due to a lack of qualified candidates.
no, they were vacant.
Okay, so.
Yes, they
so-
were
but it's-
vacant. We would like to have filled them. We were unable to fill them, but we think that after looking at some of the need that we have, we might have a better opportunity to find someone as an interventionist to do math, and we also think that would better meet the need of the students at the school.
And so then, whatever need that those paras were supposed to fulfill, that's being met some other way in the classrooms?
They were going to be additional support positions as well. We're just reallocating how we're going to use those support
And my
positions.
second question is, I'm not familiar with a math interventionists.
So,
And so what kind of skill set or person are you looking for that kind of position?
well, ideally, we would love a math certified high school teacher, someone who could come in and do that work. But it's not, because they're not they don't have a classroom assigned to them. We can have a teacher, a certified teacher. We certainly would be looking for someone that has the understanding and skill. Could be, someone who's looking to do that kind of work.
So probably not someone who would be working for, say, a para salary then. You'll have to add something to these lines.
I
there.
think the difference is that they would be providing direct instruction
Right.
and looking and working with some kids who have some significant skill deficits. So in that regard, we would be looking for someone with a math background. And ideally some, as I said, we're posting it for math certified people.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
But I think, as I said, we're trying to look how best to meet the need and how we can make adjustments to what we have. So thank you.
You have another question?
Okay.
For these two positions that you're looking for, are these part-time positions available? Because I remember at one point at the high school, we had specific teachers helping with the MCAS
Yep.
tutoring. Is this part-time?
So they're being posted as full-time. However, if we found someone that, we're kind of flexible. We're looking for the right person to do the job. So, but they are being posted as full-time positions. Double check that with Mrs. Brown. Yes, full-time positions. All right. And so the next item that we have is our budget calendar. No, it's not, because Ms. Visnick, Mr. Manzo said we have to vote on, and we're just reallocating positions. We're not adding additional positions, so it doesn't require a vote. But we're working really hard this year to make sure that we're keeping everybody informed as to what we're doing and how we're doing it, so. So the next item is the budget development calendar for FY24. For those of you who have not seen this before, there is some legal compliance that we have to have regarding when we hold our public hearing and when we, so we have to have held a public hearing by a certain date. So Jean creates this calendar by working backwards. She first identifies, I think, by which time we have to have the budget hearing, and then we kind of work back up. The calendar is following a very similar pattern as it did last year. We introduced the budget calendar development tonight here at the Finance and Facilities. We're going to be holding our individual discussions with committee members over the next couple of weeks. Ms. Bergeron will be reaching out to committee members to set up times for us. We will utilize Committee of the Whole, which is our subcommittee, to have the budget priority and budget discussions as we go through the process. And along the way, there'll be certain benchmarks that we hope to see. The governor's budget, proposed budget, Jean has it TBD in January. I guess in actuality, I learned today that the new governor actually has until March 5th because of the change in office. So I hope that, but I did hear that they're working very hard to do it sooner rather than later. It's kind of challenging when we're waiting for the release of the governor's budget and then the House budget and then the Senate budget. So, but as of right now, typically it's released sometime at the end of January. And then the House Ways and Means is released sometime in the beginning of April. So we are looking forward to beginning these budget discussions and the priority setting and all of those things as we go forward.
The only thing I'd like to add is that we do already have scheduled the public hearing on May 2nd.
May 10th. May 10th, Jean.
You're right. I had Penelope come running to the computer, so I had to quickly say something and get off mute. Yes, May 10th.
Okay, anybody have any questions about this calendar? We don't need to vote on it. It's like an FYI kind of thing. And for committee members, we can look forward to, as Dr. Churchick said, over the next couple of weeks, having our one-on-ones with Dr. Churchick to talk about our own ideas and priorities to start those discussions.
All right.
Okay, what else is in here? So the last item, we have a precious few minutes left in our calendar, in our time rather this evening. And so we have the revenues and the expenses to take a peek at. In general, When I look at the revenue report, I'm always interested in whether we're on track. So Jean, in the sake of time, I will simply ask you if there are any of these numbers that are tracking behind schedule.
So the only thing that I was concerned about was the circuit breaker revenue, the second one in the reimbursement stage. As you can see that we have not received anything in that second to last column. There's a zero, blank. And we did get notification from Department of Ed that that's coming in this week. We may have already received it this week while I had been out, but it's on track for the amount of money. It just was a little hold up on the state sending the funds. We should have gotten them in October, and it looked like the week of November 7th, they issued something that would be forthcoming. Everything else is coming in as we pretty much expected.
Fantastic. And I'm going to jump over then to the expenditure report, and I'm going to ask you a similar question, and I'm going to ask the committee members if anybody has a particular page number or line item that they're particularly concerned about, if it appears as if we're not tracking on schedule. Mr. Manzo, I'm looking at you.
It all looks good to me. Thank you.
Lorinda, I did want to just specify that under the transfers and adjustments columns, all the purchase orders that rolled over from FY22 into FY23, I mentioned at last meeting that they weren't there. They did roll it over. So if you went to the last page, you'd see a positive balance there, whereas in previous months it was there zero. So you can see that our budget right there is 69,343,934 is our budget, and we carried over purchase orders of 3,062,332.03. So it gives us a new revised budget of 72,406,266 for this year. So that number will always stay there. And the purchase orders that were rolled over, some of them have already been expended.
Bless you. All right, so we're at the bottom of the hour, and we have our committee of the whole next. We're just gonna run back up here and look real quick. We voted on our meeting minutes. We had no transfers. We voted to approve the outdoor structure at Hannah to go to the committee of the whole at a future date. There's nothing else for us to vote on. Welcome, Ms. DeGeneva, and we will have another member of the public joining us at maybe after the new year, I expect. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Manzo.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. We have roll call vote. Dr. McKenzie,
Yes.
Ms. Coelho,
Yes.
in the room, Mr. Manzo,
Yes.
Ms. DeGeneva,
Yes.
myself, yes, that passes 5-0. Thank you, everybody, for your time and your expertise. And for those of us who are staying on for the next meeting, just go on mute and we'll roll into the next meeting. Thank you, Rachel, for your help.
Okay, and I'm ready. Go ahead.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is the Beverly School Committee's Committee of the Whole meeting. Tonight is Wednesday, November 16th. Got to change my script. We are meeting in a hybrid fashion using a remote meeting application, allowing remote participation and for public access to the open portions of our meeting. We are also being broadcast and streamed by BevCam. Thank you, BevCam. With some system upgrades recently, the closed captioning is now available immediately on the broadcast channels, and it will be added within 24 hours, if not sooner, to the YouTube channel recordings. On June 16th, 2021, the governor signed Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, and on February 12th and again July 16th, 2022, he extended provisions to, among other things, allow public bodies to continue to hold meetings remotely until March 31st, 2023. This specifically suspends the need for a quorum and the chair to be physically present and asks our body to use technical methods to allow for safe public access. We encourage viewers to utilize the BevCam streaming options if possible. As a note, Beverly does have prior approval for remote participation, although that permission requires the chair and a quorum to physically be present when the act expires and its extensions expire. Tonight is Committee of the Whole, which means we do not have an agenda item for addressing the body in this meeting. Your next opportunity will be at our regular school committee meeting on December 7th. You may send an advance request to residentvoice@beverlyschools.org to receive a link to join remotely, or you may provide remarks to be read by the chair at that meeting. Joining us tonight are members of the school committee and various members of the leadership and district administration team. We will conduct a full roll call attendance in just a moment for the record, because sometimes the meeting platform doesn't show everyone who's participating, and we want to ensure that we can hear and see each other. Please remember to mute your devices, as any audio or video that you supply will become part of the meeting record. And now I'd like to conduct the roll call. In person, we have Mayor Cahill,
Yes.
Dr. Jeffrey Silva,
Here.
and I am Rachel Abel. We're also joined by our recording secretary, Liz Karan, and Dr. Sue Chirocek,
Here.
Dr. Andre Morgan, Aaron Brown, and Bethany Splansky. Okay. Our remote participants are school committee person Lorinda Visnick.
Here.
Also on the school committee, Dr. Ken-Ann McKenzie.
Here.
And one more school committee member, Kimberly Coelho. Kimberly, if you can hear us, I saw you come off mute, but I did not quite hear you. Absent this evening is Karen Robinson. We are joined online also by Jean Sherburne,
Here.
Dorothy Flaherty,
Here.
and I believe that is it. Dr. Churchek's on for presentation purposes. Okay, without further ado, our first order of business is actually the Pledge of Allegiance. And I don't know whose turn it is. I'll ask Ms. Brown to lead us this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Okay, next order of business is the approval of our meeting records from our October 26, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Cahill. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Silva. Were there any corrections, additions? I'm not seeing any hands at this time. By roll call vote, Mayor Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Coelho,
She had to drop, and she's going to join. You're going to have to readmit her. She was
Okay.
having technical difficulties.
Okay, technical difficulties. I didn't think, oh, here she comes. Let's give her just a moment for the audio to reconnect. Ms. Coelho, we have a motion and a second for the Committee of the Whole Meeting records from October 26, 2022. How would you like to?
Yes,
Thank you. Okay.
sorry, technical difficulties.
That's all right. We couldn't quite hear you before. I appreciate you troubleshooting. Dr. McKenzie.
Here. I'm sorry, I'm trying to, you were saying something just now and I was totally not understanding what you were saying.
Okay. We're taking a vote on the meeting records of October 26.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so we are doing that, yes.
Yes.
Sorry,
Okay.
my voice is like in and out.
Okay. I will try to keep the mic closer. Dr. Silva.
Yes.
Ms. Visnick.
Yes.
And Rachel, yes. Those are passed. Next, I would ask the superintendent to share the FY24 school budget calendar with the committee.
That's as for the superintendent's report, that's the only item that I actually have on here.
Microphone.
Sorry, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, good evening. The only item I have for the superintendent's update tonight is the school budget calendar. And this budget calendar was introduced earlier at the Finance and Facilities Committee, and I'm sharing it here with you this evening. Is this a voting? We don't vote on the calendar, I don't think. I don't think so, no, okay. So just for those of you who are watching, our budget process for FY24 has begun, and we build our calendar. The calendar is actually built beginning with the May 10th date, when we have set the public hearing on the FY24 budget, and then we build backwards from there. So our public hearing will be held on May 10th, and the work of the committee will be from now until then to set priorities, to have discussions around funding, and to come to a conclusion with a budget to present to the public hearing on May 10th. The calendar lists all of the dates that we'll be doing that. We'll be primarily utilizing the Committee of the Whole, which is our subcommittee working group, to kind of work through our budget discussions. I mentioned earlier in the F&F meeting that Dr. Donna Bergeron will be reaching out to each of you individually to set up times for a meeting with me around your priorities. We'll work together as a Committee of the Whole in December on the 14th to talk about those budget priorities after having individual meetings, and then we will utilize that feedback and information from you as we build the budget moving forward.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jurczyk. And if I could ask another favor, for the chair updates, we have had a negotiations meeting with Dr. Jurczyk earlier today, where we reviewed in detail the superintendent's goals for the FY23 school year, so 22-23. As you will remember, in our last meeting last week, we finalized the evaluation for last year, which informed a lot of the progression of these goals. So we'll bring those up.
I'm trying. I don't know what.
Thank you.
I don't know what I've done. Made a big
Unanimously, the negotiating subcommittee agreed with the goals and the benchmarks that Dr. Jurczyk had outlined. Some of them are familiar and building on those that we just evaluated from the prior school year. They're using the same rubric and focus indicators as provided by the Department of Ed. So there they are. Okay. So, Dr. Jurczyk, I don't know if you want to give a high-level overview. I know you don't
Sure.
need to repeat everything that we talked about in detail today.
So basically, I worked with the negotiating committee today to fine-tune the goals, but I have 4 goals that I have created for the coming year. The goals align directly with our district improvement plan, which we presented to you in the spring. So my first goal actually is a continuation from our goal that I had last year. Throughout the 22-23 school year, students in all grades will demonstrate substantial progress, a 30% increase on the district-determined measures. The way that we will do this is I will work with the building principals and the curriculum directors, both regarding the implementation of high-quality curriculum and instruction, as well as the use of data to inform and drive instruction. Our principals routinely assess the impact of instruction to ensure equitable student growth and progress among subgroups toward benchmark expectations. So we will be utilizing our assessments in Linkit as well as formative assessments as we go forward. I outlined a few key action steps. primarily, taking a look, some of these have already been accomplished, taking a look at the district's performance data and working to identify areas of strength and need. We're very fortunate in math to have Dr. Jennifer Thomas as our director of curriculum, and she has been working very closely with the teachers in the high school, as well as the alignment through middle school. Our assistant principals are working with teachers in the middle school, and we have math coaches at the elementary level, all working to strengthen our instruction in math. We will, as we have in the past, continue to utilize school-level data and benchmark assessments to kind of take a look and address instructional needs and essential standards. I will personally, I did in the past and will continue to attend data meetings with administrators to support sustainable data analysis and the implementation of improved measures. We work annually to review the engagement data for students who are below expectations in attendance and performance, particularly at the high school level, for example. That happens at the end of a quarter. We take a look at students who have, in certain grade areas, if they have a D or an F, and we look and align that with attendance data and other indicators of chronic absenteeism to see if there are areas of improvement. And then finally, just working to ensure collaboration among staff to design and implement teaching practices that reflect the data analysis. I established some benchmarks, and that is the analysis of the data meeting summaries, a log of learning walks and check-in meetings. I have scheduled learning walks and check-in meetings at each building, approximately 8 at each one of the elementary schools and approximately 12 to 14 at the middle and high school. Observation and feedback sessions with leadership. We historically, at least last year, set up a couple of summits where we bring the leadership together and we take a overall look at data for the whole district. We look at instructional practices within, and it would be within math, as a leadership team, and share good practice across the school district. So that is the student learning goal that I had proposed to the committee. I have a professional practice goal, and a professional practice goal is really the professional learning and growth that I will participate in myself throughout the coming year, and I will be aligning my professional growth with our district improvement plan of creating conditions for equity across the school district. I am fortunate enough to have the opportunity to participate in 3 different Ready Learning Foundation networks. The first one is underway already, 2 live sessions and then 6 virtual, and that is a more overview of equity and working with, there are 51 school districts that are in this cohort working together through MASS to kind of work and improve instruction and conditions for equity. Dr. Morgan and I were invited to join a cohort of 8 districts where MASS is piloting, looking for strengthening the partnership between the DEI directors and the superintendent. We're actually quite honored to be included in this group, and had our first session this morning. The work is being led by Dr. Darnisa Jackson Armante. Did I say that right? Out of Harvard, and Lee Title, who is also runs the Rides Network, I think, if I have that correctly. And then finally, I am working in conjunction with Mrs. Brown in participation in an assessment with Rides Network, and that is work that comes out of the Learning Foundation sessions and will continue. We're really looking forward to this as we presented our equity audit back in March of 21, and we had findings that we have been trying to address through work in our district, through the goals that we've created through the district improvement plan. And this, and we created a 3-year district improvement plan sort of based on some of those findings. We believe this will be a good opportunity for us to have kind of a mid-cycle review as to where we are on some of those. So Aaron Brown and I will be participating along with a team of cabinet members when we do that work in the district. And then finally, I have established a student ambassador cabinet, 15 students in keeping with the work of elevating student voice, but also I look at it as an opportunity for me to increase my learning from the students in our district. And so we will be meeting every 4 to 6 weeks. We had our first meeting a few weeks ago. Students were very excited to be and very engaged, and I found it very useful, and I believe it'll be a really nice vehicle throughout the year to elevate student voice. Again, the benchmarks would be logs of meetings and the review of findings, so from the assessment with rides. My third goal is a district improvement goal 1. This year, I chose to focus on family engagement throughout the 22-23 school year. Providing leadership guidance and support to administrators, faculty, and staff to ensure all families are provided access to and have opportunity to engage fully in their child's school community. The district will identify challenges related to language, time of day, location, and access for families and caregivers to actively participate in their child's learning experience. This is I'm really excited to move forward with this work. Again, as a superintendent, I'm not doing this work alone. We have a very strong EL team led by Caitlin Beleza, who has been engaging in a lot of work around making sure that we have the interpretation services, that we have technology that enables families for whom English isn't their first language to be successful in communicating at the school level, and that sort of thing. So working with that district level team to support the required needs to improve communication and access for families in our school building. Additionally, working with Dr. Flaherty around some of the Title I events that we have, and in keeping with that, collecting survey data on interest for family events and desired learning opportunities and topics for families, and then looking for ways to explore and engage parents and caregivers in non-traditional opportunities to expand participation in a wide variety of events for a wide variety of our groups. And then finally, expanding the use of technology to broaden attendance through streaming, virtual attendance, and recorded events. We found through the pandemic that one of the silver linings is that we were actually able to raise family engagement through the use of technology by the ability to have parents have virtual conferences with their teachers. Our IEP meetings are virtual right now if families choose to, and we do believe that offers a greater level of access for a lot of our families. So benchmarks, again, would be attendance at events, participation in conferences, and logging a minimum. We really do hope to see 2 non-traditional opportunities for family engagement at our schools throughout the year. And then the last student district improvement goal. It actually is a continuation of a goal from last year. We made a commitment to, and we continue to commit to, working to make sure that we increase the enrollment in advanced coursework for all of our students. And so we're going to continue on that, tweaked the key action steps a little bit, continuing to engage the teachers and administrators in professional development, examining subgroup data with the school leadership team, and this year we're actually naming it as reaching out and inviting participation in advanced coursework for some individual students. Developing district-wide expectations for participation in advanced coursework that represent a broad range of students, and we have a lot of ideas that we're thinking about as to how we can strengthen in that area. Surveying students regarding the course selection process. As you may remember, we made a number of changes to our course selection process. We feel like we improved it and provided great access, better understanding for the different offerings in the program of studies, but we want to follow up and ask students, did the course selection process work for them, and how do they feel about the courses that they have selected themselves into? So that was a follow-up survey that we're going to conduct. And then finally, and this is a really, we hope, important part of the work that we do this year, to continuing to develop a process for supporting students in advanced coursework. So it's not enough to invite students to take on more rigorous coursework, but we need to be able to have the supports that they need to make sure that we're creating a safety net for them as they do that. And benchmarks, again, would be the log of professional development with staff on equity, logging and the agenda to review the data, and the walkthrough of the advanced course, and citing evidence of culturally responsive teaching. So.
Thank you, Dr. Trocheck, for sharing those with us. As I mentioned, the negotiating subcommittee has voted to recommend that the committee adopt or accept, rather, these goals for the next coming year. So first, I'd like to start with a motion to accept.
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Cahill.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Silva. Okay, now that we have a motion, any questions or discussion from the committee? Mayor Cahill.
I would just say I appreciate the work, the continued work that's going into these goals, and as you stated, some of them are ongoing from from last year, and the work that's gone into at the subcommittee level as well to just prepare this. So thanks for everything, everybody.
I'm looking for hands. Anyone remote attending that has a question or comment? Seems like we're ready to vote. We have remote participation, so we will do a roll call vote. I've lost my list. I should have it memorized by now. Mayor Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Coelho,
Yes.
thank you. Dr. McKenzie,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson's absent. Dr. Silva,
Yes.
Ms. Visnick,
Yes.
and Ms. Abel, yes. That's a 6-0. Thank you very much. Didn't have any requests for additional agenda items, so my last update is our upcoming meetings and dates. I did want to remind everyone, I forwarded a message from our holiday parade liaison about Sunday, November 27th. We'll be meeting at noon in the Beverly High School parking lot to participate if you're able to join us. Then we have for our December meetings, December 7th is our Student Advisory Council at 6 p.m. Just make sure you get that extra meeting on your calendar. We will have a remote option. However, it's always good to be here with our students. And then our CISL Curriculum Instruction and Student Life is at 6:30. I believe the MCAS results are one of the key focus areas for that session. So please join in if you aren't on that standing committee but want to hear more detailed information from Dr. Flaherty. And then we have our regular school committee meeting at 7:30 p.m. on the 7th. Flashing forward, again, due to some holidays, we have decided that our finance and facility will be on December 14th. And that will be at 6:30 p.m. And then our next committee of the whole, as Dr. Churchick mentioned, we will start to have more in-depth budget discussions at 7:30 p.m. on December 14th. Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda this evening. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Visnick.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. By roll call, Mayor Cahill.
Yes.
It's not debatable, but okay. Yes. Ms. Coelho.
Yes.
Dr. McKenzie.
Yes.
Ms. Robinson's absent. Dr. Silva.
Yes.
Ms. Visnick.
Yes.
Ms. Abel, yes. 6-0. It's 8 p.m. Thank you all, and thank you, BevCam. We appreciate it.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Take care.